Bleacher Report. This is what Josh had to say about facing his division rivals. Trust me when I tell you, it's going to be bad blood this year. You think the NFC East didn't like each other before? This year right here, there's going to be a lot of fines and maybe some suspensions. I'm going to be honest with you, this expletive deleted is going to get really ugly because I do have safety DJ Swearinger that don't give an expletive deleted, and I definitely don't either. Man, so happy Memorial Day weekend from Josh Norman. First of all, I think it's all clear. You like bitterness between division rivals, right? We all can agree on that. You want that little bit of bad blood because that's what makes the games more interesting, correct?
An edge.
An edge, yes.
Absolutely.
However, there is an edge and there's a precipice upon which to fall over. And I guess the question to all of you to begin with, why would you give the officials a heads up and put a bullseye on yourself like this?
Especially if you're the most highly penalized player.
19 fouls last year, more than any other player in football.
And that's the only, as a teammate, that's the only issue I would have with Josh Norman. I mean, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with what he's saying. I mean, he's got the game to back it up. He's turned into a physical corner, locking certain receivers down. But when you take it too far and you're borderline sort of out of control, that's what I'd be worried about right now. But Josh Norman definitely has the game to back up all of this talk.
Well, okay, you brought it up. Borderline out of control. Does that talk lead to that potentially happening, in your opinion?
I think when you play cornerback, I mean, I just know how hard it is out there. I mean, I played with a great one in Ty Law, and the mind games that he had to play with certain wide receivers out there, because a lot of times you are outmatched. They are faster. They are quicker. They have more ability. So you have within 5 yards now, which it is, I believe, in the NFL, to do anything, not anything, but as much as you possibly can within those 5 yards. And if you add in an altering of the mental state of the receiver, in terms of, I said this in May, you're still remembering it. You know how I feel about you. It gets in your mind. That's also an advantage certain cornerbacks can use, and he's using it right now.
Okay, but those words could also get in the minds of the officials and say, all right, you've said it. I'm going to be out there. There may be fines and suspensions, so I'm looking for you on every play.
Yeah, and Bill can actually speak to this as well, is once you build a reputation in the league, a guy who, accrued a bunch of penalties, I equate it to like the Raiders. The Raiders for years have always been notorious for having, being the most penalized team in the league. Well, Josh Norman is just giving one to the referees like, hey, buddy, thanks for giving
us. We'll take the 15 yards.
Exactly. So if you're an aggressive guy like Josh Norman is, who likes to, be physical, be in your face, officials are going to look for that. They're going to look for that, and they're going to tend to err on the side of throwing a flag, knowing the reputation that you have as a physical player.
Not only that, Marv Levy taught me a long time ago, don't give the opposition bulletin board material. So he did that.
Right.
It's tacked up on every bulletin board. But on top of that, on Memorial Day weekend, when the league meetings are over, everybody's going home for a long weekend, OTAs are over, he said, hello, league office, commissioner, fines, suspensions, please pay attention to me.
Exactly. Right?
Thank you very much.
I mean, that's the thing. Doesn't the NFL have to look at this now, Dan?
Well, you have to look at it. I mean, they're not going to be able to fine him for comments like this, months ahead of game time. But I mean, that's the point. And Teddy's phrase, borderline out of control, is really key, especially borderline. This is some pretty heavy expletive deleted for late May. I mean, this is to talk like this at this point in the year when no one's in your face, no one's agitating you, you're not guarding anyone. How close to the borderline, and how much risk is there in going past the borderline if you're Josh Norman and you're already at this level of froth? We saw a player in Josh Norman, right?
That's the thing we need on ESPN.com, FLI, froth level index.
Right?
We need that now, right?
And you can do it with like white bubbles like you're doing on the latte.
Like my black lab at home.
It's good on a latte. It's bad on a black lab, and it's probably bad in terms of cornerback wide receiver agitation when it escalates. We saw a player in Josh Norman ended the 2015 season in this very public, antagonistic fight with Odell Beckham in that game.
Correct.
Then last year, most penalized player in the game, as we've talked about, and really a lot of that post-game stuff where it was a lot of woe is me, they won't let me play my game.
How does this help?
That's what I'm wondering. Is he going to get too worked up? Where is it all leading? And that's my question. If I'm coaching Washington.
Furthermore, I'll tell you where it's leading. You got a new director of officiating in Al Riveron. So what he said is, hello, Al, I'm out there, pay attention to me. Secondly, the officials took the brunt of the blame in the Beckham-Norman debacle that took place in the Meadowlands 2 years ago.
They didn't reel it in fast enough.
They are not taking the blame this time around. I guarantee you that the officials are looking at this. Now, they'll say, oh, no, we're going to call it the way we call it. Not the case, because what he's doing is threatening an imbroglio. He's threatening some sort of physical confrontation. Allow that.
Here's one thing I will say in Josh Norman's favor. We have to be careful from trying to dissuade guys from being who they are. What gives him the juice when he gets him amped up to play?
That's great. Just don't say it to everybody.
I mean, listen,
say it in the locker room. Say it to your teammates.
We all know Josh Norman is a talker. We've seen these type of statements before from Josh Norman. The only thing, if I'm a player in the locker room, if I'm one of his teammates, all I care, don't do anything on the field. Like the debacle, when he was with the Carolina Panthers going against, Odell Beckham Jr. Don't do anything on the field that could cost the team, because now it's not about you. You made it. You're being selfish, and if it comes to a point where your feelings and your emotions are costing the team, then that's when he stepped overboard. But I'm not. I like guys on edge. I think defensive players should be on edge.
But don't go
play with an edge. Don't talk with one.
What this will do is, I mean, it's professional football now. You can get away with certain things. You can push, profanity sometimes. The way you speak to an official to the point where during the game, the official will come to you and verbally warn you and say, hey, Damian, that's enough. I know what you're doing out there. That's dirty. I see it again. It's going to be a flag.
Right, that happens all the time.
So now he's going to get the warning pregame. Pregame, before he gets no benefit of the doubt. You get the warning pregame, and they're going to say, now I've warned you already. All right? So now let's go play ball. So the very first instance, he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt because of what he said and in his past. This is a direct correlation of it now. The official now says, I see him. I'm going to search him out in warm-ups and say, all right, I know what we got going here. I know Dez is on the other sideline. Anything, I'm throwing the flag. You got it? And he'll go to Dez, maybe say the same thing, but then there's no warning. There's not going to be a warning.
Look, all great teams play with an edge. All great teams find the line, play through the echo of the whistle. We all know that. But I have to ask you, and you specifically, having played in the Patriot system under Bill Belichick, who is so smart and does things and makes sure the team is doing everything to do your job and not put yourself in front of the team. When you go out there and say, I don't care if there's going to be fines or suspensions, how would Bill feel about a player saying that?
Well, let's talk about if this is said right now in May. First of all, I don't think this is addressed early on. This is addressed, before the season, OTAs, whenever he would do about how to conduct yourself with the media. It's almost like media 101 every single team meeting with Belichick. All right, he'll say this is what to say, this is what you shouldn't say, and then he'll read you specific examples of guys not doing the right thing. So I don't believe this would happen.
Right.
But how he would handle this is this: he would know that when they play the Cowboys or when they play the Giants,
whoever.
right? He knew it was going to come, and then he would directly communicate with Josh Norman saying, this is now how you handle this now. You can't talk about any of this now. Talk about it was a mistake, but he'll try to do as much damage control as he possibly can, because he would blow a gasket. If he heard this, he would absolutely blow a gasket.
Next week, Tony Dungy, first meeting of OTAs next week, he would have this quote and maybe even the clip on a video. He'd start the meeting with this quote, and then he would go through Media 101. This is what we don't do. Right. He wouldn't let this rest. He'd be upset that he couldn't do it tomorrow, but it would be the first thing out of the box next week about how to conduct yourself and how not to do things.
Bottom line is the spotlight was on him anyway. Like you said, 19 fouls. No one else had more than 15, so he was the gold medal by a long shot, and now he's just asking for more attention to be thrown on him when it's all said and done.
I'm sure head coaches seeing this now, come back from this long weekend, they would do exactly what Bill's talking about there and start reading the handouts and, hey, fellas, this is what
laying the groundwork
not what you're looking for.
As Teddy Bruschi once said. We got lots more coming for you on this edition of NFL Live. Coming up, is Roger Goodell making a concerted effort to mend fences with players? Does it matter if he is, and can he? We'll discuss that when we go in the red zone later on NFL Live. Plus, who among J.J. Watt, Von Miller, and Khalil Mack has the best chance to be the best defensive player in the NFL this season? Or is it someone we've left off the list? We are off and running on a Friday edition of NFL Live. No penalties, no suspensions.